Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm so excited to be here this evening. I have an unbelievable guest this evening. I'm so happy that she could join us, even in the midst of we are about a week away from a very, very big election that everyone knows. I'm so glad you were able to etch out some time for Convo with the CEO, Representative McClinton.
Good evening, Madam CEO. I'm so glad you could etch out some time so we could talk about this election and talk about what we're facing.
What we're facing is so much. So, Representative McClinton, let's just start off with tell people who you are.
Absolutely. So I'm first of all very appreciative for this honor to be with you this evening. For those I haven't met yet, my name is Joanna McClinton. I serve my neighbors in Southwest Philly, in the Cobbs Creek section of West Philly, and in Lower Delaware County, so Darby Borough and Yeadon in Delco. And I have been serving my neighbors as their voice in the Pennsylvania House for the last 5 years. In addition to being their state rep, I'm also an attorney. Wear a few different hats, also a minister at my church. And I'm just so excited to, be here at this moment in time with this big election coming forward. I know most of us who are, on the ballot or getting ready to vote and encouraging people to vote. Some of us, want it to be over, and then you're at the same time, you want a little more time.
I was going to ask you that. So what type of law do you specialize in?
Absolutely. So I spent about 10 years working as a public defender here in Philadelphia, where I did criminal trial work. I was in the criminal justice system or in the center. I was at family court serving juveniles, representing them. And everybody who I was charged with either misdemeanors or felonies. And I either did a trial just with the judge called a bench trial, or I did jury trials.
Okay. Oh, wow. So let's talk about, where did you grow up?
So I'm from Southwest Philly, 56 in Hatfield. We gotta yell out our streets. I'm from 56 in Hatfield, and I lived there my whole life. I moved less than a mile away to 60th in Baltimore, which is where I am now.
Okay. How many siblings do you have? What is your family? Any siblings?
Yes, one. Yeah. So I have one brother. He is 13 and a half years older than me. So we got a little gap.
My brother and I, we're 8 years apart.
So you know about it. It's like there's one who's mature and one who's a baby.
Wow. So how did you choose the whole world of politics? How did that come about?
So when I was in college, I stayed in Philly for school. I went to LaSalle, and then I went to Villanova Law School. And at LaSalle, I studied political science, which is government politics. I did a ton of internships, worked on different campaigns, but Boomy, I never wanted to run for office. Like, let me just, put it out there. Yes. So I'm very glad that after I left the public defender's office, I went to work for my senator and your senator, our state senator, Anthony Hardy Williams, and working in his office as his chief counsel, working on policies, legislation in Harrisburg. I got to see these folks are making major decisions that impact everybody. And I know some people are like me. You vote all the time, or how I used to be, but you don't necessarily know who you're voting for. You don't know what their offices do or how they can help you or how you can give them ideas. You're not as engaged. And so whether you're engaged or not, whether you're voting or not, decisions are going to be made. The first decision is who's going to be in these seats, who's going to be your senator, who's going to be your president, who's going to be your state rep, who's going to be your city council member. These are decisions that once we realize they taking money out of every one of our checks, we got to say, I'm going to vote every 6 months. I'm going to find out who's on that ballot.
And people really don't know how important it is. So many people are so disenchanted. What would you say to the people who are disenchanted, Representative McClinton?
Hi, Yuma. I see our sisters on here. You got to bring us some dinner.
Yuma did my African food.
Listen, we did African chicken and fish.
It was unbelievable.
So there's so many people who think, voting doesn't matter. I don't like candidates. I don't want to participate. Everybody's corrupt. And when you hear things like that, if you are in office like me, you're kind of like, oh no, everybody's not corrupt. Like, wait a second, time out, time out. There are people who care. There are people who work hard. You can check my calendar. Like, I post as much as I can on social media. I can't post every meeting. Like, no, don't be so callous and think people don't care. But I know why people think that. They look around and they compare different communities that are wealthier. They seem to maybe have more resources, not realizing that particularly in the Black and brown community, because we have fighting the consequences of so much racism for years, not like 10 years, 2010 to 2020, like years. We talking about racism for years. We couldn't vote for years. We couldn't get mortgages for years. So we have high concentrated poverty. And with poverty, we have violence. So you feel like it doesn't matter. But if you are watching or you rewatching, whatever it is, however you're listening to this, please just get rid of that attitude, because guess what? Your vote is important. It's your voice. It's your opportunity to be heard. It is not the chance that you get to grill all the people, but you do get to say, I don't want you and I want you. I don't want you and I want you. I want you, but I don't want that one. So don't give up on that voice. And I know 2020 has been like draining to say the least, but this is mentally time.
Yes, mentally, emotionally, on every level, it has been draining, but we have to stay fast and just have faith that we're going to make it through this. You understand? And so let's I guess rewind a little bit. You're walking with our Senator Anthony Harding Williams, who is the best. And so what happened? So you decided to take a chance and run?
So basically, I mean, that sums it up, Boomy. You must have known. Although it wasn't something I ever thought about growing up, or even once I was a lawyer, we had a vacancy and my friends thought it would be great. But more than that, my senator, who was a mentor to me at the time and is still a big brother, was like, Joe, why aren't you interested? And I'm like, well, first of all, you're in public office. You're to blame for everything. You work a lot and some people don't see it. So they think, oh, you're not doing anything to advance them. But being staff, like I'm kind of like the people behind the camera. I'm watching everything and I'm at meetings. I'm taking notes. I'm getting orders. I'm sending letters and doing emails, working with other members of staff. So I said, is that really the life I want? Like, if I have a good life as staff, I mean, do I want to be on the line? Do I want to put myself out there, my family, everybody? Compromising, our nice private life. But good news is
that's true. I forgot about that, because you put your mom, your parents, your siblings, everybody. They all become an open book almost.
Everybody. But I got out my head and just started thinking about how much I loved speaking up for other people when I was in the courtroom. Like, I loved it, Boomy. I enjoyed talking to juries and judges and advocating. And I thought about the things I've done even in my place of worship, being a youth leader for over 10 years, coming up with programs and ideas and volunteering and picking them up and, really helping them to reach their goals. And it's like, Joanna, you should try. Like, you might not make it, but try. And I'm glad that I tried, and grateful more so to God for blessing me and my neighbors for choosing me, for going into the ballot where they have lots of choices and choosing me. I'm very appreciative.
And that's what I was getting ready to say, because it's a 2-year position.
That's
so
right.
Say, like, the off year, you're running. So as soon as you're not running, in essence, you're running again. Right?
That is accurate.
So how is that? I was wondering, how is that cycle on you and all your, your comrades in that environment? Say for instance, Jordan Harris. How is that cycle?
So, I mean, you realize how important it is in the year you're not running to show people what you're doing with them, not for them, but with them, that you're building consensus, developing partners, bringing resources back to the district, having events so they know how your office can help them, and that you're working so that when the year comes, as soon as that 1 year is down for you to run, they're not like, oh, well, who is that? What did they do? Why are they asking me, can I sign their petition to get on the ballot? Why are they telling me, they're on the ballot and they want my vote? There's a lot to do on the official side, on the legislative side, to show, why you should be there and why you are there and what you can do, as if they say, prove your worth. So you have that time during your terms, even though the elections for the House They're like this. They come really quickly. People are like, you ready again? This is going on. Even though they come quickly, you have opportunity to show this is why I'm asking you for your vote, when the time comes.
And due to the fact that we live in a world of social media and anything go up in a second, do you find yourself having to be careful how you carry yourself, or because you know who you are, you don't really worry about that, because you are human, Representative McClinton, and people can catch you on a bad day. So how do you handle that?
So I think the key is being grounded. I mean, respecting others the same way you want respect, no matter where you are. I remember years ago, my pastor was preaching a message on integrity. I was in college, and she said, as an example, integrity is who you are when no one that you care about is around. The people who you're like, oh, I don't want Boomy to see me doing this, or I don't want my mom to see me doing that, or I don't want my grandmother to hear me having this conversation. Integrity is being the same person you are all the time. So that means that, when I go to a Doom Day and we got, my guy on the stage, Dougie Fresh, I'm gonna have to figure it out. But I'm not gonna be anywhere and pretend I'm an entertainer. I'm elected to be a public official. So I'm going to carry myself in that manner, but always being myself at the same time. Because no matter if I think somebody, sneaking and recording, or whether it's something like this, in a regular conversation that's open to the world. It's like whoever we are, if we show up as that person every day, we don't have to say, oh, I slipped, or, oh, this, just being who you are, your authentic self. I have found over time, that's what's most rewarding. Not trying to let me put on my politician voice. This is the voice everywhere. Like, I only got one. Some people have another one. This is it.
And I never thought about that. You have to, because they say, politics is like swimming with sharks. You're going to get bit, or you might have to bite somebody. In that environment, how do you stay true to yourself? Because it's such, people trying to bite your back out, people trying to set you up. You know what I mean? How do you surround yourself with good people so that your nucleus has your back?
Well, I think that you just said the answer. Being around good people who have your best interest in mind. Because the truth is, whether you using examples from centuries ago, or Judas was with the 12, then he took that money and was like, all right, there he goes. He sold them out real quick, and nobody would have ever guessed. We can't see what's in people's hearts. We can't, we can smile, we can laugh, we can hit like, but we can't see what's in people's hearts. So, I mean, everything is certainly a risk, but I do think you have to just be careful generally, whether you're in public office or seeking elected office, or you're just, a person who's living your private life, as we say, mind our business. We all have to just be careful to make sure the folks that we are choosing to surround ourselves with, at least off of what we can show, what we can see, and what we've heard, and what, how our experience have been, that is positive, that they want us to do well, to succeed, to flourish, and most importantly, to remain true to who you are. Because some people, they just change, they evolve, or they're chameleons. But if these folks around you are telling you to be true and telling you the truth, and being honest,
you want people to tell you the truth now, right? Yes. So let's talk about what are some of the trials and tribulations you faced during your career? What are some trials and tribulations?
Absolutely. So I'll share a good experience that just turned from a trial and tribulation to good news. So many times when we think about folks in office, we expect some things to be like a light switch, like, okay, you turn it on and it's done, or you turn it off and it's over. But so many things, particularly when it comes around changing the law, take time. So I had an idea, when I started in 2015, and that was to do automatic expungements. If you get acquitted of a nonviolent case, why do you have to go back and say, oh, can you clear my record? Why can't that just be a part of the processing? Within 9 months, it's clear. So I introduced the bill October 20th, 2015. Booming. It was crickets. I couldn't get support. I couldn't get it moving. So our session ends in 2016. I reintroduced it 2017. Session ends in 2018. I reintroduced it last year in 2019. And this time I got more support, more stakeholders. But we sent it to the Senate, in December. And it took until last Wednesday for it to get a vote, but it passed and it went to the governor's desk. So a lot of things require patience, and persistence and building alliances. You know, because you have a tremendous event every year, how many stakeholders and supporters you have to bring together and put them at your table so that your vision can come to pass. It's not like, oh, I got an idea, it's just going to happen. Or, oh, my neighbor called me with the great legislative idea, so since she called me, it's going to happen. Like, it takes time. And in that time, I could have been like, well, I'm going to give up and move on to another idea. But every time I was like, oh, reintroduce. We'll see. Reintroduce. We'll see. And I'm so glad that very soon it'll be law.
So that is important because you know what? The work that you're doing, Representative McClinton, is going to change generations. And that is the most powerful part that people don't understand, that law changes generations, whether good or bad, it changes generations. And that is why it's important for you to go out and vote at a city level, at a state level, and at a federal level. But I feel that the children and the younger generation should be more informed. Like my son, he said, Mom, how come we're not taught about this, like the importance of voting and how it affects our lives? Why don't you think we bring it into the schools and break it down in an ABC-ish form so they understand by the time it's 18, they know why it's important to vote? Because sometimes I feel like it's too late.
Yes, by the time somebody's graduated and they have not had, any engagement with their elected officials, they don't know what the significance of voting is. It's not at the forefront of their mind. And unlike us, I'm sure your mother did the same thing as mine. My whole life, we went in there together, and I was, not tall enough to press anything, but we did it together. And every family doesn't do that. And that's okay. Maybe your kids are at school, or who knows what the situation is, but we do have to do better. I think that political parties have to do better at making sure young people know how important their voice is. I think people seeking office have to bring young people along to get their ideas, to get them involved. And I think if you're already in office, you need to make sure you're visiting the schools in your area so that young people and children have that engagement. Even when I go to elementary schools, I say, how do you think I got this job? And they're like, oh, is it like the president? Do people have to vote for you? You just start.
Oh, yes.
That they can be interested in it, and hopefully when they get of age, it's not so difficult like a tug of war, but they're like, oh no, I know what my responsibility is and my choice, so let me go ahead and get involved.
Yes. And so you ignite that interest in them, in the children. You understand? You really ignite that interest in them, so it makes them want to again find out more,
Yes.
So how do you keep how was the transition from your day job to becoming a public figure, a public official? How was that?
So it was different. I mean, it was I'm sorry.
Let me rewind a little bit. I'm sorry to cut you off. Tell me about when the night you won your first victory. How did that go?
So it was a special election. So that means it wasn't in the spring or in November. It was in August. And the whole summer I was knocking doors, talking to people, and people didn't know me like from Adam, as they say. I'm like, this is who I am. This is why I'm asking for your vote. And first of all, people was like, it's no election coming up. And I'm like, it is. It's a special election. It's August 11th. So fast forward to election day. I went to the polling places. It was a lot of good energy. A lot of people, wearing the shirts with the signs up. But, there were 3 people in the race, all of whom I respected. And, although I was praying and hoping that I would be successful, you don't know till the votes are counted. So, we're at the place where they're count all the votes. And they're like, you won. And I'm pretty sure it was a totally blank face. So blank that my friend who was running the campaign was like, Joanna, this is what you need to say. So I just started writing down like, okay, does my brain work? Can I talk? Have I spoken before? It was just so much shock and excitement. But we went to the restaurant, Southside Zabiha, right at 60th and Osage, where we had some good halal food. And because it's in the center of my district, all the neighbors were there. It was crowded. People were pouring out onto the street. I remember to thank the folks, and the other elected officials spoke. And we were just excited. And I just could not believe it. I came home. I had voicemails from other people saying, congratulations, people I didn't know. I'm like, oh, Governor Wolf, where'd you get my number from? What's going on? So it was quite the transition, but a very exciting moment. And hello to Jamal from Rutgers.
Yes. So talk about how that transition was once you became and you had to start doing the work. How was that for you? Because again, you were his chief counsel, so you understood some degree what was expected of you, but how was it actually being in it?
It was different. So I think that for those of us who worked places, we always look at other jobs and say, oh, wow, well, I'm doing my role, but y'all could be doing this. So, you have these opinions in your head, you serve food, but you like telling the chefs, y'all should cook faster, but we're not doing that role. So I think it's natural when you're staff to have an idea of what somebody's role is, but then you're in that type of role and you're like, oh, wow. So, every vote I make, my name is attached to it. And as you said, it has consequences for generations. So every decision, every choice, is weighty, is significant. So while I used to be on the floor of the Senate thinking, oh, this and oh, that, now I'm sitting there and it's my name on the little desk and I have to be focused and prepared and pay attention. So it was a big transition. And some people usually get a little time, but because it was a special election, we started a week later. So we were back in Harrisburg, but this time I'm not working in the Senate. We get sworn in that day. We start taking votes. And I'm like, what are we doing? What are we voting on? How do I find the bills? Trying to, get caught up to speed. And unlike the folks who started traditional classes where they had a couple months, November to January, it gives you some time to go to training. They were trying to squeeze our training in between session. I started with.
Well, I was going to ask you, so they do have a training for you. Because what happens if someone wins and doesn't know the process?
Yes. So they know that everybody is coming into it with different levels of expertise, understanding. Yes. I mean, we have people who are running now that worked in the House and are running to be members of the House. So certainly while they have to go to training, their understanding is different. And actually, even though I was in Harrisburg, the rules in the Senate and the rules in the House, totally different. The legislative process, totally different. In the Senate, you can amend a bill anytime, and the House is very restrictive. So you have to be ready to change some bill to make it better. You can't just get up and say, I have an amendment. There are all sorts of rules. So I went to the training for, it would seem like probably the end of a week. I think it was about 3 days. And it was the other people who also were starting in August. We were collectively in the training and they were telling us, rules and regulations, things you have to be aware of. You're now not just an elected official, but you're also, with a staff. So you are a boss as well. Maybe you were not a manager before and did not have human resources training, but there are all these things that change immediately.
Joanna, how do you find the right staff?
Oh, that's a good question. So I think that it comes through a combination of things. Many times I'll meet people who say, here's my resume. I take them all. If I meet you somewhere, or if you email me your resume or you're a student and you want to do an internship, I take those very seriously because as I was saying earlier, at LaSalle, I work for a lot of folks. And to me, even if you can't, I don't have an opening in my office right now, but maybe you're a student and you have time to do an internship or you can do it for credit. You get to see, is this something I want to do? And I've been really blessed. Some of my interns have become full-time staff. So, they start off not being paid or being paid just for a summer job. And then, later returning as part-time and then becoming full-time. And I've been able to see so many of them not just grow, but really soar professionally. Their skills grow, their abilities grow just because they're not necessarily me, but being able to have so much leadership. One thing that's reinforced in my team, I might be the elected leader, but everybody at this table is a leader. So what are your ideas? What are your suggestions? How can we make it better? And they call me. I'm like, that's your decision. You make that choice. I'm delegating it.
That is so important, Joanna, that you're able to do that because you are as strong as your team. Would you agree?
Yes, that's right. That's right.
And you have two sets of staff, a staff in Harrisburg and a staff in Philadelphia. So how many staff total do you have?
It's a lot going on. So in the district, we have 2 people who are part-time and 3 people who are full-time. And in Harrisburg, it's because I'm in leadership. I just got elected to leadership for this current session. So we have to do a lot more than what one person normally could do. So we have a team of 4. And what we do is we produce reports before session. So all the members know what we're going to vote on. We produce a report when we have these meetings that are called caucus, and every bill that we're going to vote on is on it. Then we put together stakeholder feedback. We're always producing information so that our colleagues are up to speed before those votes. So it's a big team. I mean, it's a team of 4, but for me, I was going from one person I used to share. So, I wasn't used to really having people in Harrisburg, but now I do because in my leadership position, we have so many responsibilities and they're carrying them all out.
So tell everyone about your new position, because you are first to do that, hold that position. Yes. Tell everyone about this. So exciting.
Thank you so much. And thanks to if any of my colleagues happen to be on, because they vote. So of course, the neighbors, we vote for the elected leaders. And then in legislative bodies, and you might think about like city council. City council has a city council president. So in Harrisburg, in the Pennsylvania House, the first leadership position is leader. The second one is whip, and that's what our brother Jordan Harris does. He's number 2. Then we have an appropriations chair. So like that's what Congressman Evans used to do. All of the budget is under the appropriations chair. This year it's Chairman Matt Bradford. Then it's the caucus chair, and it's a few more. Caucus secretary is Rosita Youngblood, who's retiring. Caucus administrator is Neil Goodman, who's retiring. And then we have the policy chair. They set up meetings throughout the state, and that's Mike Sturla this year. So those positions are chosen by the members in our caucus. So we have 93 members, and you have to basically send out a letter. You have to get on the phone. Many of us who are running for leadership go out to districts all across the state, get on the highway and talk to our colleagues about why we want their vote so that we can move up and do this leadership role. So my role as the first woman and the first Black person of the first person of any color doing this role, I run the meetings every time we're in Harrisburg to talk about the bills. So before COVID, we were in a really large room, and I was sitting in the front with the other leaders surrounding me, and I had a nice sized gavel to call it into order. And if anything would get out of order, I didn't have to use the gavel all the time. I would just look like, you know, you got to give them that look, Boomy.
That Philly look. Yeah.
I don't know if it's a Philly look, if it's a Black woman look, if it's a mama look, you know, but we have to make sure everybody can be heard. We got to hear our staff explaining the bills. And then out of the 93 colleagues, we have people asking questions, and I have to facilitate that conversation. I have to call on this representative and that representative and make sure everybody is heard and that it's a productive use of time. So I've been doing it for 2 years. It's been a blessing. I've been so grateful. It has really stretched me. There I use one of your dancing examples. It stretched me and helped me to grow in new ways. So I'm appreciative for that part of the journey.
Yeah. So let's talk about, so you have to know everyone. And as they said, you have to be able to talk to and have relationships with people on both sides of the aisle, right? How is that navigating that? Because everyone has different personalities. Some people, Joanna, might walk right by you. Like, how do you handle that?
So when I started, I realized, you know, the year everybody else who started in 2015 started in January. So I started in August. So I'm like going on these committees. I don't know the chairman, the gentlemen or gentleladies who ran the meetings. So they have these face sheets, and it has every representative's face and name and district. And I started studying them, Boomy, because I said, I'm not going to be up here and not know these people. And the reason why I wanted to do that, because in the Senate, when I worked for Tony, who's the whip, number 2 there, I had to know all the senators so I could check them in, make sure they were voting, if they needed to take off, what type of leave they were on. Like I had to manage all that as a part of my roles in his office. So as soon as I got in the house, I'm like, well, I got to learn these folks. And it seemed like so many, Boomy. I only had to learn 26 senators, but it's 203 members of the House.
I was going to ask you, how do you remember 203 people?
I mean, I'm looking. So I started with the committees. I said, let me just do the committees I'm on. This is Jack. This is Paul. You know, this is somebody. It's mostly men. Out of 203, there are only 9 Black women. So it's mostly men, and of course, mostly white men, not exclusively, but mostly. So I just had to go from my committees, learn their names, and just be friendly because, like you said, even in our own party, you know, people are from different parts of the state. So they might be like, oh, Joanna, she's always on Facebook about those Eagles. We Steelers fans. But you have to figure out where you can find common ground. And the first thing comes, the simplest thing, if the information is on the internet, learn their names, where they're from, you know, reach out. And I used to be so shy till I got through my first year of college, and I realized I'm only going to meet people if I'm friendly. Like, they're not going to just flock up to me like, hey, what's your name?
That's right.
I had to break out of a shell, and I did the same thing in the house. Broke out the shell. This is my name. You know, you see the ladies, so few of us women generally, when I see them as we're coming in and out of the ladies' room, I'm like, hey, Tina, hey, this one, hey, that one. They're like, what's that girl's name? I'm Joanna.
Joanna.
You know,
Yeah.
you use it as a way to just introduce yourself without being overbearing and in people's face, but just being friendly. And I remember the first full swearing in 2 years later, the Republicans were telling my mom, "We love your daughter. She's the best."
Wow.
It's like, well, I was just being myself, saying hello, you know, treating them respectfully. Like, we don't agree. First of all, we're in different parties, but I'm gonna treat you as respect. But the hardest thing I think for some people who've been around for a long time is seeing younger people come in. Like, oh, you my daughter's age, you my granddaughter's age.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
It's like, but if you're professional, they're going to treat you professionally. I might be your daughter's age or your granddaughter's age, but I'm here because my neighbor sent me here and I'm being professional. So, you know, it's once again mutual respect.
And Joanna, my mom always said, when you know your stuff, no one else can tell you nothing. You know your stuff in and out. You understand where I'm coming from? So they really can't question your educational ability or intellectual because you know your stuff, you know?
You got to be prepared. And that takes time, being prepared.
So Joanna, as you work a very kind of crazy schedule, because I think is it like Sunday to Thursday, you're in Harrisburg and you come home?
Yep. That's basically it, because we have meetings Monday morning. So many times I'll go up on Sunday night because you got to be real with yourself. And I was having a hard time getting out the house on Mondays. I'd be watering the plants. I've been making breakfast. Like, I don't have anywhere to be. Like, it's 2 hours away. You got to go.
Yeah.
I'm not packed yet. So I had to change my whole mindset, pack on Sunday, leave so that when I wake up, I'm on time for my meeting at 10. I'm not on the highway, doing some racing. So just about Sunday to Thursday, sometimes just Wednesday. That's the schedule. And when we're there, before COVID, especially, we're having meetings with people, with groups, with children all day long, rallies at the Capitol.
Wow. And also, let's talk about, so how do you find that balance between work and your personal life? How do you find time for yourself?
Boomy, you have to let me know. I mean, the second Sunday in June, I felt like was always me time. Like, sit under the tent, have a good time. I'm not working. I'm not seeking votes. I'm not seeing, informing constituents, but you find the time, and you find the time for what's rewarding, what's enriching. And it can't be 24/7. Let's be honest. If you want to work, you got to work. All right. Like, you really have to put in work. But if you're going to be refreshed and rejuvenated when you're going to work, you definitely have to look at your calendar and carve out the time. And I learned this as a young public defender because I went a year or two without taking vacation. And we had 4 weeks of paid vacation. When I started to realize that if anything, God forbid, happened to me, they were just going to tell my clients, sorry, Miss McClinton ain't able to make it. She's sick, but we're going to have somebody else for you. And they're going to come back on this date. I said, well, I better take this vacation and take care of my.
That's right.
That's anywhere but cleaning my house.
Yes.
I gotta carve out the time so that I'm not just, taken for granted even by myself.
That's right. Especially as a woman, you have to take our time to rejuvenate your spirit, rejuvenate yourself, but also know that it's okay to say the word no. Do you find it hard for you to learn how to say no, Joanna? I speak to a lot of women. They say, well, I learned at this age that it was okay. How are you with the word no?
It's tough, but I think that what you realize is that each of us have limits. I know, just like, you go so hard for making sure the young people are engaged and that you're getting the support and the resources needed so they know how important they are in our communities. If somebody's saying, hey, Boomy, come out here, do these classes, you're like, all right, I'm going to do it. So I try to make myself as available, as accessible as possible. But there's sometimes, I started to realize, live Facebook town halls after 8, that might not be the best idea for me often, but like when we got shut down, I was just doing them every night. Then I would sit in my living room or in my dining room. I'm like, I haven't eaten. I haven't had any dinner. I've been on computer all day and night having Zoom. You start to realize like, okay, this isn't healthy. And I'm going to have to just say, no, I'm going to have to say that's not a good time. And if we're doing it, here's the better time frame. And if you can't adjust it, then I apologize, but I'm not able to participate.
Wow, that is wonderful. So what do you do to relieve stress? As we wind down this wonderful conversation, what do you do to relieve stress?
Boomy, don't laugh. but I love dance classes. And I'm not like you. I'm not a professional. I'm not like you and Beyonce.
You're not like me. I don't know how to dance. Oh, no. I don't know how to dance. I do not know how to dance, honey.
You do the arts and you do it well. And you also always teach modeling. I'm thinking dancing, but modeling. So I love a good hip hop dance class. So I don't know if Dwayne is watching, but Dwayne and I used to be at LA Fitness on a regular basis when the schedules were not changing. And when I could get there, I would tell him, I'm like, I have to leave every meeting at 6:30 on Tuesday so I can get to class by 7, because it's just so fun. It's energy. It's like, we had our little concert, but it wasn't a concert. It was just 50 of us in the room at LA Fitness. But it's such a good time. And I'll tell you, during the pandemic, I've never exercised at home. Like, I've always thought I shouldn't be in here sweating. Like, my couch is right here.
That's right. Yes.
Because of the time that we were shut down, I started doing Zoom classes with Gym Rats and Zoom classes with Fab to Fit Academy. And it brings such stress relief. It's amazing. And it also, even though it's tough and I roll my eyes a little bit, you feel really accomplished when class is over. You feel like, oh, look at me. I did this class, whether I'm thin or not. I'm participating and I'm fit and I'm healthy and I'm on a journey. So I have to do things like that. And of course, on a Friday afternoon, every now and again, got to get a pedicure.
That's right. Yes. There's nothing like it's called self-preservation and self-care. There's nothing like that. There's nothing compared to that. So first of all, I just want to say thank you so much, Dr. McClinton, for coming this evening. This is as we wind down, you have the mic. What do you want to tell everyone about the importance of voting? You have the mic.
Thank you so much, Boomy, and I appreciate it. So on the final words, I just encourage everybody to participate. Things in our country are not perfect. Things in the city, most of us are watching, are in Philly. They are certainly not perfect, but we have the opportunity to choose what type of leadership we want, from the White House all the way down to the State House where I serve, to say these are the types of leaders we want speaking on our behalf, fighting for us, representing us. And you know what? This year has been draining and exhausting, but find the energy you need over the next 7 days to make sure you vote. It is important. It is critical. Whether you vote or not, decisions will be made. So why not say, I played a role in the outcome? Don't give away your responsibilities because things are not perfect, because candidates are not perfect. Play your responsibility. Don't get rid of that right that we have in this wonderful country to make it better. Let's make this country the best it can possibly be by lifting up each of our voices. I have this little button on. It says, I am the change. So each and every one of us play a role in getting to see the change that we need and the change that we want. Thank you so much, Boomy.
Thank you so much, State Representative Joanna McClinton. You're just a wonderful spirit, a wonderful woman. Thank you so much for taking time, because I know you're on the roll. You're everywhere. So I thank you to you and your staff for making this happen. Everyone, you're watching Odunde 365 Convo with the CEO. Our special guest tonight was State Representative Joanna McClinton. And thank you so much. Thank you. All right. Thank you. So thank you, everyone, for joining. Yuma, thank you, Jamal. Thank you all so much, everyone, for watching. Everyone watching, you're watching Odunde 365, our fall series. This was Convo with the CEO. I'll see you tomorrow as part of the our Entrepreneur Spotlight. If you would like to be featured, you can email us at odundefestival@gmail.com and send us your name, your phone number, and the name of your business, and we can feature you. If you would like to see someone here featured on Convo with the CEO, please let us know. But thank you so much for watching, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow. You're watching Odunde 365 Convo with the CEO. Thank you.